Hey, Print Hustlers, welcome back. Guess what? Print Hustlers Conf. It's right around the corner. Very excited. If you go to printhustlers.com and use the code Hustlers24, you can get access to Print Hustlers Conf at a discount. It's going to be pretty exciting. It's in Cleveland, Ohio at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. The speaker list has been announced.
It's been announced, and there's going to be shop tours, and there are some funny videos on Instagram. If you saw Justin Lawrence trying to hit a field goal,
that was hilarious.
I shot those with my meta glasses. Did you see the PO? Like, it was pretty cool. And then, did you see Dom's pie in the face?
Yeah. Say you went to Print Hustlers.
I think what's really cool is we met this entire crew. Bruce, like Justin, Dom, Kevin Baumgart at the second Print Hustlers. And now it's like Christmas. So you just get to see the family every year. So it's going to be a magical couple of days. I hope to see you all there. I had 2 employees that came up and asked if they could go.
Really?
So I'm going to bring my 2 young guns, I think, 2 of our artists that have been working with me since they were 18. And now they work for us full time, so we're gonna have some fun. But bring your employees, and they can all have fun together. It's like camp.
That's awesome. It is November 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, Cleveland, Ohio. And use the code Hustlers24. That'll get you in, and we'll see you there. We got a couple sponsors that always help us put this show on as well. First up, GraphX Source. If you need a solution to improve efficiency and reduce costs in your art department, or send you down to Honduras to hang out, like Steven Farag's about to do, GraphX Source offers industry-leading outsourcing options for your shop by truly becoming a part of your team. They plug and play with Printavo and other shop management solutions, and SEPs, mockups, creative art, order management, digitizing, all that good stuff. They're there to help. Campus Inc. 6 artists.
That's really cool. I'm Brett and Nick are amazing, and Lucas, and I'm going to go to Honduras with them for a weekend in December. So we're doing a Campus Inc. staff meeting down there, and they've been so great to us. And literally last week, the artists started to get busy, and they're like, we think we need to add one. And so I think we're going to be at 7 here pretty shortly. So thanks, Graphic Source. You guys crush it for everyone, for us. If you don't use Graphic Source already, check them out. All right. Easy Way. Bruce, back in the day, you reclaimed screens and you spent hours cleaning dirty screens. And that is a thing of the past, just like you printing. But with Easy Way's screen printing chemicals, their innovative formulas are designed to work quickly and effectively so you can spend less time cleaning and more time creating. Plus, Easy Way is passionate about empowering printers of all skill levels. If you don't subscribe to their email list, you absolutely should, because they put out like guides, booklets. They're just great at teaching and educating the industry, and it's no wonder why their products are so good. So thanks so much, Easy Way. We appreciate you.
Multicraft. Open Instagram, type in multicraft_daddy, and send Dave at Multicraft a DM. Send him a DM with your email address, because he's sending out a bunch of free stuff every single week, PMI tape and a bunch more. And he's using it to help meet people and to help continue to grow multi-craft screen printing and digital supplies. For over 50 years, they've been providing top brands at competitive pricing. And mention the Printavo pod. That'll get you 10% off your first order. So for your first order, make it a really, really big first order, and then mention the Printavo pod to get the max discount.
All right, Bruce, we have 2 new sponsors who we've been talking about. The first of which is DGI Apparel. And I want to tell you about DGI and why it's the best new platform to hit the industry. It was built by a group of MIT engineers. Yep, they got to tell you that they're from MIT because they're really smart. They have a background in screen printing, and they just left Y Combinator, which is the incubator that launched like companies like Uber. They're there to connect accounts like Sanmar, AlphaBroder, SNS to one portal, so you can compare prices, inventory, shipping times across every supplier on there. They just added AS Color, which is really, really cool. The average shop spends 2 hours purchasing every day, and DGI is going to cut that time in half. So ask yourself, what would I do with an extra hour every day? And you know what, Bruce? There's no promo codes because DGI is free. and it's always going to be free. That's right. It costs $0 for shops. And so you can sign up today at DGI Apparel and tell them that we sent you so that they keep sponsoring this, and join 1,500 other shops that are saving time and money on their purchasing. Thanks so much, DGI.
All right. You got to talk about BMAC because you guys work together quite a bit.
All right. So newest sponsor of the pod, DTF Superstore and BMAC Industries. They are the leader in innovating solutions for the DTF printing industry. They have been at the helm of supplying DTF supplies, printers, kind of since the inception of DTF. And one of the things that DTF Superstore has done is they have developed their own dryer. It's called BMAC, BMAC. And this thing is a tank. It's USA built. And it's going to push the boundaries of what's possible in the DTF industry. So I know that those that have DTF printers, dryers are always an issue. Get yourself a BMAC. This thing is awesome, and you're going to love it. So check them out, dtfsuperstore.com. Thanks so much, guys.
All right. So this episode, maybe a short one, but I think is interesting to think about. And it was a topic you brought up and we were just chit-chatting about and figured, let's just talk about this. And that's around diversification. Should you, shouldn't you, pros, cons, when? I think when is a big question. I think so many of us get started, you do everything you possibly can for everyone. And that's the way to be able to really get some traction in the business and be able to continue to grow at any price, probably too. It's like an infinite matrix.
What's interesting is if you think about going to the trade shows 6 or 7 years ago, we'll call it pre-COVID, you would talk to shops and you're just like, what are you here for? PC. Yeah. Anno Domini, pre-COVID.
Year 2 PC.
Yeah. Year 2 PC. Ooh, I think we just coined something. I like that. And they'd say, we're here to buy an embroidery machine. We think we want to get into the embroidery business, or we're here to buy a laser, or we're here to look at banner printers. We think we want to get into that. And it's always this continuous thing is we think we want to get into this. We already do screen printing and we want to add embroidery. So we might go buy a machine. And what that is essentially doing is taking your focus and widening it just a little bit, and going and making an investment into something, hoping that it can accelerate or grow your business to some capacity. PC, 2 years PC, that was one way to look at things. Okay.
Oh, wait, is that pre or post COVID? Oh, no, after COVID would be AC. Okay.
AC,
yeah. So
AC,
PC,
AC,
yeah.
2 years PC. When I would talk to shops at the trade show, I'd be like, oh, that's so cool. That's awesome. Congratulations, whatever. Let me know what you're going to get. And now I think my tune has changed a little bit. What issues do you see when a business wants to diversify and they want to get into a new segment, right? What mistakes do you think business owners make, or what do you think? Yeah. What
why did you go a little bit sour on it? Was it an experience that you guys had?
I think diversifying your business should be a logical decision. And more often than not, it becomes an emotional decision. It's a shiny object and a shiny tool, and it's not well thought out.
Yeah. That's interesting.
I
feel like that.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think as a product person for myself, which I feel most shop owners are product people in a way of, the product is decorated apparel and enjoying the production side of it and making things, because that is really cool. You're probably right. Like, it is really shiny. And so is like building a new, feature or something like that. It's always very shiny. But you're right. It's you've heard of that iceberg analogy, right? Like when the iceberg's sitting in the water, you only see the little bit, but the iceberg is 90% underwater, and you don't realize that until you start getting into the project.
So we're not going to use the word DTF because it's only been 6 minutes into the episode, and we try to see how long we can go. But let's just say you were a screen print shop and you wanted to add embroidery. What are the steps that you're going to take? When do you think it's a good idea to add it? And maybe even as a service, like as an offering versus like going and buying a piece of equipment. What are the things that you're thinking through? How thoughtful are you being? Talk to me about this.
You know, it's interesting. I was talking to a shop that did this, and they have tried twice. And the reason why it did not work, so they had the business, they had the demand, they were subbing all the work out. You know, it's a very usual story. So it's like, all right, great. You know, why not bring this in house? Quicker turnaround, better margin. It doesn't take a ton of space. All right.
But Bruce, wait. I want to pause you for a second. Even before a shop offers it, go to the step first. Like, you just do screen printing. We haven't even talked about getting a piece of equipment yet. I'm thinking about offering embroidery. Do I go buy a piece of equipment? Do I just start subbing it out first? Like, can we spend some time there?
Oh, good question.
I want to go like even back to the start. I'm just screen printing and I'm thinking about offering embroidery.
So why wouldn't someone want to sub it out to be, again, building the demand for it? You know, like what do you think? Is it that emotional decision to buy the stuff right away and start doing it and jump in head first?
Yeah, I think some people.
Because if we're thinking logically about this right now, it's like, yeah, of course, you know, sure, we could sell it. That makes sense, but we don't know how to do the production of it. The space may be questionable.
Mm-hmm. So I think that some people will buy a embroidery machine and then start offering it. And in fact, it needs to be the opposite. You need to drum up so much demand for embroidery and sub it out for a very long time before you validate going and buying it. Right. And I think that's a shift that we're seeing in the industry is demand must come first before like diversifying or actually making an investment. I don't know.
Is that a cost thing, you think, or I'm kind of tired thing and don't need one more thing on my plate?
Well, selling embroidery and subbing it out is much different than embroidering a shirt. They're two completely different things. So like, do you want to be really good at selling it or do you want to be really good at embroidery? Or do you want to try to do those at the exact same time?
Did you guys, do you sub out embroidery work? How do you handle that now?
So the way we handle it now,
I know you had some in-house, but I can't imagine for larger jobs it is.
So my business partner, they were subbing out embroidery for the longest time. And this is back, I don't know, 2007 or 8. And Jed built a barn behind his house, like a barnuminium, and he put an embroidery machine in there and he started an embroidery company for his wife. And Campus Ink subs out everything to her. But she is a contractor, no different than other embroidery shops that we work with around the country. So technically speaking, even though it's a mile away, we sub out for everything. One part of it is just like our in-laws in business, right? But what Jed would tell me is, we were driving back and forth to go pick it up, and we just had someone else doing it for so long, and we just said, okay, we've done a couple $100,000 of demand here. We can go buy a piece of equipment now, right? And he put together a plan to say, my wife's gonna be a stay-at-home, mom or grandmother, and she's going to run this business. So like they had a little bit of a plan in place, right? But that was when you buy a piece of equipment, that's just the start of the next problem.
Okay, so let's talk about then where is the point of where you should start looking into buying it based on your experience. I mean, you guys have done so many different things over the past 10 years, trying different things overseas, here, in-house, subcontracted, all this stuff. Like, what have you learned over 10 years from saying, when should I bring this in-house versus continue to contract it out?
If I were to talk to myself 6 years ago, I would tell little Steven, who's newer in business, do not buy anything until you have a really good contract.
I thought you were just going to put a period there.
Do not buy anything. Do not buy anything. Do not buy it. Do not buy it.
That is what I've learned.
Yeah. Do not buy anything until you have repeatable, consistent revenue and you are successful. Like you can contract out really well. Like don't buy it. Like use as much restraint as possible. And in our old shop, when we were in like 3,000 square feet and we barely had any room, we had to contract out a lot. And when we were in the new shop, we're like, oh yeah, we'll just get that. Let's just do it. Yeah, get a banner printer. Let's go, because we had all this space. And I think what you don't learn about is the hidden cost of diversification. So like
there's got to be a lot of like just cognitive load of thinking about everything. I mean, like, what is underneath that people don't think about? Correct? Because you just see the price tag and you figure, all right, I got to find someone, but
yeah, let's take an embroidery machine because we're not gonna say DTF yet. You want to offer embroidery. You've done a couple $100,000. You're starting to do 10, 15 grand a month of embroidery. It's consistent, right? There's something there. Okay. You go to the trade show. An embroidery machine is what? 60, 70 grand, 50 grand. I don't know. Let's just call that a payment that you're going to have to make, a car payment. It's going to be $1,000 a month, right? Do you have enough money to pay $1,000 a month, $12,000 a year, right? Do you have enough business, consistent, repeatable business to cash flow that machine? What else are we missing now? Keep adding stuff. So we got $1,000 a month just in the machine.
Which I think people have already calculated that. Yeah, that's easy.
Oh, I can do that. Yeah. All right. Next step. What's next?
I think it's people. I think we underestimate the difficulty in running a new machine, and then also in having someone else run it. So that's a specialized skill to be able to find someone that, will either learn how to do it or knows how to do it, and then will stick around and be able to.
Sure. So how many employees how many sewers do you need? You need someone hooping and someone cutting backing, right? And someone sewing. I bet you have 1.5 employees per embroidery machine. Call it $60,000 to $70,000 a year just in labor on a machine. Maybe I'm being high here. So call that $5,000 a month. Okay. So really what this embroidery machine costs, it costs $6,000 a month to run. Okay. What else?
I think the next one is an umbrella of cognitive load, like everything mentally considering it. So for example, you have to find that person. You need to train that person. You need to manage that person. That person calls off. Now what? That person quits. Now what?
Is there a cost associated to that? Like, would you take a percentage of your salary?
In theory, you could, right? I mean, you could say an hourly part, but I think more than the cost of the hourly is
just the mental bandwidth.
Of like, like it's another item that takes up your brain that's already overflowing.
So it's going to cost you $1,000 a month to manage this, right? So now we're up to, we said, $5,000 a month in labor, $1,000, and we're up to $7,000. Okay. We also need to get supplies. We need backing. We need thread. We need hoops. We're not going to get the shitty hoops. We're going to get the magnetic hoops, right? There's probably $400 or $500 a month in just stuff, right? What about digitizing? Now I need to find a digitizer because I'm not listening to Steven and Bruce on the podcast, and I'm using offshore people that DM me, right? And I'm going to be trying to find someone to digitize for me, right? I got to be messaging with them back and forth. I got, my numbers now getting blown up by every other person in India.
They told their whole family, and now your Facebook inbox is destroyed.
Yes. You do digitizing or you do embroidery. Okay. Another $1,000, someone to manage the art, to do the sew outs, right? I bet you running one machine is $10,000 a month in just these hidden everything, right? And if you say to yourself, well, I'm just going to do the embroidery, then you're selling yourself short, right? Because then you're just giving your hour a dollar mark. Now you're worth $20 an hour when you're sewing or something like that. So
8 to 10,000 is almost shocking because we started at about 1,000-ish for a payment.
If you're a 50% margin company, let's just say 50%, you have to make this a profitable business segment. You need to be bringing in $300,000 a year of embroidery to make it a profitable business segment, Because what you can actually do is you can eat away at the good profit that your business makes by diversifying, because there's going to be this climb to get to this number. Well, to be able to sell to $300,000, you also need an employee that can handle selling embroidery, right?
You think you need 300?
Yeah, I don't know, 250, 300, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Could you do it with one if you did it by yourself? Yeah.
Could you do your costs are $120 a year?
Right. And so these buried costs and then the machine has to get serviced once a year, right? Things are going to go out, right? You're going to mess up a couple jobs. And so the cost of diversifying a business, there are all of these hidden costs that people don't realize, and it takes them years to climb out of it. When what they could have done is hired one employee to get really good at contracting out.
You're saying selling and one, is it one selling and one managing the flow, or, I guess they can spread out all over.
I mean, some of the best shops that have great salespeople sub out their own work for them. They know their contractors, and they just, I'll just send it here. So I think what I'm getting at, crazy. Isn't that nuts? Right. And so if you are thinking about diversifying your business, you need to have a very sound plan for what the hidden costs are, and a very sound plan for how you're going to cover those costs over a certain period of time. And sometimes people are like, well, I'm investing in the future. It's like, you might just be investing in a headache. Right. And so I challenge shops that if you are really good at screen printing, become even better at screen printing, invest in your darkroom, right? Get really, really good at, exposing screens as fast as possible and optimizing there, and sub everything else out, right? Same thing happened with a banner machine. We wanted to get into signs and banners. We bought a VG540 Roland. We sub every sign and banner out now. That was a $20,000 oops. We still have it, and it's used for favors and stupid gag gifts that we need to make. Right. But the question that I would have is, would we have ever gotten into signs and banners if we didn't buy that machine? Probably not. Once we bought the machine, then we started selling it a little bit more. I wish we would have reverse thought about that one. Post-COVID, anno COVID will be a little different. Yeah, it would be different. But this was a young Steven.
I've got a story on the Printavo side, so a bit tangential.
Oof. Wait, I think I know where the story's going, and then I'll give you my perspective after it.
Again, tangential because not running a shop, but running Printavo back in 2017 or so, 18. Working on the workflow. We're very focused on the workflow, very focused on companies that primarily do apparel decoration. We, of course, had folks reach out that want to use it to do signage and want to use it to do custom cabinetry, or want to, it's just like any sort of custom, we'll call it job shop operation. Glass, I remember, engraving, that kind of stuff. And what we discovered early on is we said, all right, maybe we should look into signage, for example. The problem that I had right away was the sales side. So we talk about the people on the training side, but if we've totally sold only decorated apparel workflow software, now the team, from the sales to the support staff to the account management, had to understand the business of signage. That was a lot of load, and that was a lot of training that we would have to go through. And honestly, I didn't know much about that. So that was kind of a red flag for me. So we pivoted back. We said, all right, we'll turn down that business and just focus on the apparel decoration side. All right, distraction object, shiny object, we avoided that one.
And I think, Bruce, you went to Printing United and we saw all the digital stuff and we're like, holy, this is a whole nother world.
Yeah.
We're just like
super wide format printers. If you ever haven't been to Printing United, go to Vegas and enjoy it for a day. Holy cow. I've never seen anything like that. I remember even asking guys what do you use this for? What do you exactly make? And he's like, those big pieces of vinyl that go on the side of buildings? like on the side of these hotels here, those are the things we print out and apply.
Pretty hard for you to say no, because I'd be like, Bruce, what about signage? What about lasers? Ooh, check this out. Ooh, check this out. And he's like, oh, I don't know anything about that.
Those industries, and those industries are bigger too than apparel.
Right. Now, Bruce, can you talk about diversifying your product offering when you decided to plunge into merch?
Yeah. So then, in our decorated industry is online stores. Of course, online stores have grown, but really have grown a lot over the last 5 or so years. So in the popularity and so on. And we saw at the time Inksoft, and we saw Order My Gear and all these other solutions that were out there. And we kept getting asked, hey, we manage workflow through you guys. We want to be able to do online stores, and we want to keep those really integrated because that'll make it easier for us to do our job. That makes perfect sense. I don't think that's too much of a distraction, right? Well, of course, again, it goes back to the iceberg thing. I had never foreseen the amount of work. It is absolutely a separate business. And it's kind of similar to what you talk about, right? With, embroidery or whatever other service that you want to be able to sell and offer. It's not only adding that processy into that business, but it was also managing the constant aspects of the day-to-day operations of it. So now you have support requests that have to do with that are now in-house instead of funneling people elsewhere. We had the product management. So we needed someone who was very focused on e-commerce and understood that. And so hiring that person. Then you can't just allocate existing resources to switch back and forth all the time. So we needed to hire engineers that were just focused on e-com. And to be honest, I thought it would be more of a side project. And B, we didn't ever really fully staff it enough to be able to be a true competitive product in the market, because it was like, man, I feel like we're half-assing the workflow side and now we're half-assing the merch side. We need to go, full ass on the workflow side, because if that isn't great, then, why work on the e-com?
Bruce, this is probably early in our friendship. You were at like 1871. You'd be like, can you come whiteboard merch with me? And we would walk through it, and I'd show you Inksoft stuff or Shopify stuff or like all the different tools we were using. And you whiteboarded it. You're like, oh, okay. Whew. And then you just like close the door for a little bit on it. And then I remember I would just like text you to get under your skin. I just send you Inksoft stuff all the time. And then one day I got a message that was like, fuck it, we're doing it. Do you think it was just your fired up competitiveness? Do you think you studied it super well? Was it just like, because you were not an impulsive person, but that moment you're like, we're doing it. If you could go back, would you do it again?
It was the right decision, but I underestimated the amount of dollars that needed to go into it. It's literally what you said. It was 10x more than I anticipated as far as the cost of resources, literally just the cost, dollars and cents, to put into it, to manage, to continue, to make it better and better.
Now, the beauty of merch is that it's built into the Printavo workflow natively. And that's, you've almost designed it for how our shop operates. And what's funny about it is you got so gung-ho on it, you even made flyers of when it was going to launch, passed them out.
Yeah, I wanted it to be done. It took so long just to get it off the ground.
But when COVID hit, when COVID was born,
it was perfect. It was so helpful.
So like, it's interesting if you were to go do it again. It was the right
decision to diversify. Yeah, I would do it again, but I would have said, okay, guys, if we're going to add this, whatever original estimate of what we need to allocate towards this, dollars, time, could be in your sense, equipment, commitment, all that stuff, people, we need to multiply that by some sort of factor because we're underestimating it. We haven't gone through this to fully understand it. So
it's interesting now when my employees ask to do something new or they come to me with a proposal, I ask them to do so much work ahead of time to prepare for me to make a decision. And sometimes I'm like, man, if this was me back in the day, I just would have been like, let's go, And now I'm like, just last week, a really top athlete was approaching us and said, we want a crazy minimum guarantee. And the team got super excited. They're like, we're going to get this name in sports. It's going to be insane. And I was like, okay, if you want to do this, I need a market analysis of who we're going to sell to. I need a projection of how much you think we're going to do. I need a good, better, best. I need to know gross margins on everything. And I need to see like a 1-year marketing plan of how we're going to deploy this. And you could see their faces are just like, what?
Oh, maybe not.
Where's Gunslinger Steven? And you could see the excitement just like fall out of their eyes, And so now, as our big cruise ship gets bigger, every decision we make is way more costly. And I've learned that probably from our CFO, Steve Watson, right? Like he is.
So, but how do you balance that though, right? Between some of the things that you did that worked and maybe others that didn't work versus now, like if you could put yourself back in 5 years ago shoes and running the business of that size, because I think that's more relatable too.
So let me give you a couple examples. Some of our best shoot from the hip moments were when I built things. I would build stores online. So like I built this Illini store online and I just sent it out to 20,000 customers. It was highly inefficient for me to spend 72 hours locked in a room building it, but I built it. And if it failed, right, like it was just my time. So I didn't spend any money with anyone. I built it myself and it was a huge distraction. But then when it took off, it took like a year for it to actually take off. And then the other impulsive decision was, hey, we should set up a pop-up store in downtown Chicago because I'm a diehard Illini fan. And I think we could sell. And I didn't think about projections or sales or how much we were going to do. I was like, I just want lines of people and shit everywhere. And I want to be on the news for it. And like, it's going to be amazing. And to my business partner, Jed, he's like, well, if we sell 1,000 shirts and we break even, I guess it's good. If we sell 0 shirts, I guess we look like idiots, but we're not going to go out of business because of it. And so he would always kind of like say like, are we going to go broke because of this? Is this a decision that could make us go broke? And I'm like, no, Jed, I'm going to rent this place out. It's $2,000. I'm going to paint it myself. I'm going to do all these little things. And I probably oversold it to him, but he's like, all right, go do it. And then I would kind of like slave myself away for a minute. And I had a couple of those happen. And I don't do them anymore as much. They're a little bit more calculated. But those were huge inflection points in our business when I took those risks.
Those risks, though, which are interesting, are short term. When you talk about worst case scenarios, it's not as bad, especially because the commitment is fairly low in that it's not like a 3-year, loan payment or hiring a new team member or something like that.
Let's talk about a diversification that costs the business a ton of money, millions of dollars that we still haven't gotten right. Can you guess this one? Do you remember pictures of me in the warehouse? Fulfillment.
Oh boy.
So we decided to start building e-commerce stores for big national accounts. And we're like, we're going to do the fulfillment ourselves. We're going to set up inventory and bins, and we're going to get all these pieces of software, and we're going to try and turn into Printful and ShipBob all at the same time. I think shortly after I started therapy.
Fulfillment therapy.
Because I was like, oh yeah, it's going to be, we'll just find some apps and connect them together and we'll do all this stuff. And I probably spent more, I probably spent more like, probably saw the sunrise in Campus Inc. maybe 1 or 2 times a week that fall. And it was awful. We had no idea what we were doing, and we were messing up so many orders. And I was just like, this is the worst freaking idea to try to figure out how to be a supply chain fulfillment thing. Like I should
messing up as shipping wrong stuff.
Oh yeah. Delays.
Split shipping or
none of it was working, right? We went through 2 different softwares And we're like, that is not what we do. And so we outsourced all of it. Literally. We're like, nope.
Oh, you kicked it all out.
Yep. And then we slowly brought
How many, was that a year or 2 years?
It's like 2 years of it. It's awful. And during the day, we're trying to grow the accounts and grow the business. And all this time, the traditional company was still just a good heartbeat. And I think we lost a lot of money along the way. And so like, I challenge people, don't try to become a printful or an on-demand decorator if you're not ready for a huge investment in diversification. But
it's also a completely different business too. I think that was the thing that we all underappreciate, because that was a common pathway for many through COVID, is adding fulfillment. But yeah, I mean, there's businesses that are just fulfillment, like big ones. And there's a lot that goes into it. It's just not bins and, rack shelving.
I mean, you look at these videos of the S&S warehouses that are 100% robotic.
Yeah.
And these robots are moving towards people.
The Bell and Canvas one, the last pronounce was Conf, like the.
Yeah, and it's like, who am I to try and do this? And
so you brought some of it back in.
So now we do on-demand DTF for a specific segment of garments. So all basics are done in-house. And we'll finish our jerseys in-house. But then we sub out some other stuff. So like products that we can't get or specialty sublimation we'll sub out. And so like Campus Ink is diversified because we have different business segments and offerings, but we are not the experts at producing and manufacturing at all. And we don't even take that position anymore that we want to do everything. Like we don't, absolutely not. Right. And I think there's this dream of having this 100,000 square foot facility and robots and all this stuff happening. I'm like, that sounds awful.
You'll never see the sunrise again.
That sounds awful. Like to build at that scale is insane. And, what about what do you think if a company wants to diversify their product offering or services or anything, what are the different checkpoints they need to think through? How do we wrap this up?
I think the first thing is what we went through at the beginning, which is open up Google Sheets, write down line items. You have 10 empty line items, fill them all up, put the dollar amounts for each on an annual basis, not monthly. Because I think the trick is monthly also is confusing because it looks a lot smaller than it actually is. But stream it out to annual because of the seasonality and just, I don't know, stuff happens. And then add your time cost into it too. And your mental load. Like, how do you feel adding 25% of your time thinking about this based on how you're doing now? Like, rate that out of 5. 5 is I'm out, and 1 is like I'm ready to go, or maybe it should be reversed. But yeah. And then I personally would look at that because I think it is a lot more shocking than it appears to be. So I think that's the first step.
All right. Second step for me would be like a market analysis or like plan. Like, who is going to manage this? How are we going to get enough business? And you would write it as a brief. It should be like a 1-page document. I'm proposing to bring in embroidery. The reason I'm proposing to bring in embroidery is because we've done $300,000 a year and successfully contracted out. In order to bring it in, it's going to cost us this much money, and we're going to have to hire 2 more employees. I think we can get this to $600,000 in the next year because we're going to do X, Y, and Z. The risks associated to this are that it distracts us from screen printing, and it takes away from what we're already good at. But I believe if we bring in the right coaches, consultants, and we have a good marketing plan, we're going to be able to make this a successful segment. And it's just like a diary. Like, it's like your thesis. I would call that your thesis. What's your thesis?
It's very easy to get excited about new ideas. We always get so excited about a new idea and something that's just fresh and can jump on into. Almost like we get excited to get distracted from, the things that we should be doing. But to remove the emotional attachment if you treat the idea as bad coming into it, and that you have to prove it as a good idea, that helps remove biases. That helps remove, someone comes to you with the idea, it's bad. We treat it as an auto no, but we're going to prove it as a yes out from there, which I think is along the lines of writing that plan to make sure that it's actually worth the time.
And if you are an auto yes person, have an auto no person in your life. Right. So like the reason I think Bruce and I bounced well off each other is Bruce, I'll bring an idea to Bruce and he'll auto no, and then I have to fight it back. And it's not that he's not for it. He's just going to start no and say like, okay, build it back up, build it back up, build it back up. And that is sometimes the most responsible way to do it if you are emotionally charged about it. So I would say the next thing is to have a sounding board, a reasonable group that can help you make an informed and educational and good decision.
Yeah. What's the consultant out there? We pulled up that Mr. Beast onboarding doc, the YouTuber, and he said, always hire a consultant that's in there, someone who's an expert. If you want to be able to do this, who's the person that's done it before many times so they can give us clear understanding? I think the last one that I'll put down is also, is it a different business? And if so, make sure you have full appreciation for, there are companies that literally do this that are a completely different business. And so you're going to have a micro company inside of your company. And so do you have the full appreciation? Is that reflected in that Google sheet we talked about of truly calculating the costs out annually?
Yeah, that's a reality check.
Yeah,
are you actually going to be good at it?
Just like you spent years doing your thing, people spent years doing the other one to perfect it and make sure that it's a profitable entity. So, all right. Diversification.
This is good. If you've diversified well and brought a good segment into your business or added it, leave it in the comments or shoot us a message. If you've got a horror story, dumpster fire, we did this, we brought it in, it was awful. And now I'm got, a paperweight here or there. Tell us those too, because, those are fun. This is a good one, Bruce.
All right. Hey, Print Hustlers, we'll see you guys on the next episode, and we'll see you at Print Hustlers Conf this year in Cleveland. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks so much for listening. Hopefully that was informative. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to hit the bell for notifications if you enjoyed this video. If you enjoy all the stuff we're putting out, it's really helpful. We love to just be able to see it. That means that we're doing a good job. To subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, and hit the like button. And I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.